Good morning, Elle Ingalls here at pressure-free.com. So nice to have you on here with me. Thank you for watching. If you're watching live or the replay, I really appreciate you. If anything that I share here feels important to somebody that you care about, feel free to share it out. I believe you can like hit the dot 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 and you can grab the link and you could text it to someone or send it in a DM to someone. So it doesn't have to be a public thing because I know that the topics that I talk about can be really private, which is why sometimes I don't expect a lot of hearts and likes on my posts, because some people don't want people to know that they want to consume my content, and I totally understand that. So if that's you, I'm here for you. And if you're liking and hearting, thank you so much. That helps other people see this as well. So yesterday I talked about the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. And as I thought about that and thought about coaching that I've done, with everyone from CEOs to little 10-year-old gymnasts and hockey players and everything in between, there's a word that keeps coming up for me, and it's equanimity. Equanimity is when it's kind of like psychological homeostasis, where you're just in that zone. You're in this really ideal place. So you're not overexcited, you're not depressed, you're the roller coaster that so many of us are on emotionally. The tops and the bottoms are pulled off. And now we're in this kind of a wave and it's elevated. I was coaching a client once and explained pressure free like that to them. I said, so what you're feeling right now is this big swing in emotions, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. Like it's just this huge thing. And we're just going to shave off that and lift the whole thing up. So that to me is equanimity. That to me is being in the zone, in flow state, which explains why with some, if you're watching the Olympics, with some athletes, they'll finish and you'll want this like huge reaction from them, but they're just like, they're still in the zone. They don't feel overly excited. In fact, in the case of Michaela Schifrin, it looked like she felt sad because she was thinking about her dad, who passed away in 2020, so wasn't there to see her. Um, I've had those experiences too, wishing my parents. I remember so clearly being so wonderfully, feeling so wonderful at my youngest son's graduation at Columbia. He was number two in the class. And then all of a sudden I was overcome with a feeling like, I can't believe my parents aren't here. Like my parents aren't alive to see this moment. I felt that way with our other two sons when they had their high school graduations, because that was pretty fresh off of my parents passing. And I was like, gosh, I wish they would love this moment, the little moments in time. But equanimity is definitely a beautiful state to live in. One time I was taking my eldest son to a hockey game, to his hockey game, and he said, I think I'm figuring out with pressure free that I don't want to be overhyped and overexcited before the game. That could affect how I perform. And he was so right. When we're in that hyper state or overexcited state, it's really easy for us to feel powerful because that release of hormones that first go out, it's adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. That little cocktail, I call it a cocktail, they're called catecholamines. That little cocktail can make you feel really powerful, but it also can affect your vision. It can affect your coordination. I like to say that we lose things in seconds and in millimeters. Like even in a sales meeting where you're working to negotiate some sort of a sale, if you're in that adrenalized state, you're not seeing the other person really clearly. You're not picking up on all the meta communication very well. So you can come across as kind of pushy or forceful as well. So noting that, when my son said that, I thought, oh, this is such a great insight. Not only do we want to prevent anxiety, anger, feeling ashamed, we'll feel those things, but we don't need to overreact and release the stress hormones from those feelings. It's overexcited as well. And then I thought of how if you're a parent or a grandparent or you remember growing up, you you'll see kids like overexcited at a birthday or some sort of celebration or something, and someone will make the remark, probably someone who doesn't have children will say, "Oh, they're going to sleep so well tonight." And you're sitting there going, "No, they're not." They're so over adrenalized. It's going to take forever to get them to bed, right? And if they do fall asleep, they'll probably wake up in the middle of the night and want to come in bed with you. It's like no, it's they're not going to be tired. They're that adrenaline is gonna just be making them crazy for a while, especially if you're having an evening event. That's for sure. So so yeah, so watching your own emotional state through the day, it's not exactly easy to do because we have a lot of subconscious patterns from the moment we first wake up. We have some conscious patterns about how we think about things and how we react to stimulus. And you could, you know, it's almost like we have to slow down time. That's the way to think about it, which is why when I'm working with a client, we can't be in a rush. We can't be in a rush to fix all this because it's going to take some time. And I don't want to say it'll take a ton of time because for one of my clients, in 4 days, he had a breakthrough. Another 10 days, he had another breakthrough. So you could be having these like mini breakthroughs pretty quickly when you start to understand all of this. Um, for most of my clients, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks before they've really seen some of their patterns and they're interrupting them and they're not releasing those hormones. But for some of my clients, it takes months. It's almost like the stress, the experience of stress is just in every fiber of our being. For me, it was about 8 weeks. That's when I noticed a whole bunch of changes in myself, both physical and behaviorally. I was making massive changes, and that's when I noticed it. So the other component here with pressure free is noticing. It's noticing that, oh, when I wake up in the morning to this particular alarm, it jolts my heart. That's going into fight or flight. Or um, if I wake up in the morning and it's pouring rain and it's kind of cloudy, um, I feel depressed. So here's the stimulus is the weather. The weather, by the way, is one of the biggest things we complain about. Apparently, Americans complain about the weather up to 20 minutes every day, time and the weather up to 20 minutes every day, and then they complain they don't have enough time. So weather it can be a thing that, you see what the weather is and you have a reaction. Um, Another one is finances. We'll get into money at some point. I'll do a little money session here on this little show. But I had a client who opens up all his accounts every morning, his brokerage accounts, and he deals with a lot of stuff. Um, Quite a wealthy individual. So he like pulls up all this stuff, and if the numbers aren't what he wants to see, he definitely triggers, and he didn't realize it, but he was triggering fight or flight. Like every single morning if the numbers weren't what he wanted, but he was probably triggering them also if they were way above what he wanted. So he was getting overexcited. So approaching any sort of those things with a heads up, it's almost like heads up, I might trigger the stress response here. So it's like open your accounts, keep your belly soft, smile a little bit, no matter what the numbers are, and and see if you can take in the information and not have an overreaction. I think I've said this before, but one of my clients just said, "Oh, you're teaching people how to be grown-ups, Mrs. Ingalls." This was a student. It's like, yeah, I mean, are we really mature or are we still in middle school? All these overreactions and this up and down roller coaster is what a lot of people attach to middle schoolers. Like they're constantly in this flux of emotions with everything changing in their bodies and all the stuff, peer pressure and everything that's going on. It's like, are we still stuck in that mode? And I'd venture to say yes, if we're continually triggering the stress response. But once you can step out of that and not release those hormones, then you have a different kind of functioning in your brain. You can actually make very clear decisions and choices. Sometimes clients will come to me and say they have a lot of brain fog, like I'm just not thinking well, I can't make good decisions, I don't have any willpower. That again, boils right down to the release of these hormones. So if we can prevent that, then suddenly you're making different choices or better choices for yourself. Um, you're getting to choose your response to things instead of having an instant reaction to them. So back to this idea of equanimity. See how that plays in? Like if we feel like we can't make good decisions, then they're like we're down in the trough. And then so what do? Maybe we'll binge eat or do anything to try and feel good. Now we elevate that and then we crash because we're so ashamed that we just ate a whole bag of cookies or whatever the thing is. Right? Like, so there we go on the roller coaster. Just never ending roller coaster. So that is fascinating to note and really to put a stake in the ground and say, I just don't want to be on that roller coaster anymore. I don't want to be on all those ups and downs. When we're looking at something like the Olympics, the athletes that are so in the zone, like really, really in the zone, have long staying power. I would say that Michaela Schifrin is actually one of them. Like the media wants to portray all kinds of stuff around her. My Canadian daughter-in-law, who she's an amazing NCAA skier. She was nominated NCAA Athlete of the Year. She was Athlete of the Year at her college. Amazing skier. She's not too happy with how the US media is portraying her skier sister, Michaela Schifrin. Um, so it's interesting to note that what makes for good TV is that up and down roller coaster of emotion. But that's not what makes for a good human, and that's not what makes for a healthy society. So they want us to keep our eyeballs on the screen, and all of this up and down like that keeps our eyeballs on the screen. And that's the advertisers like that because then we're kind of weak and we buy that because we're flowing with all of that. So guarding yourself against being jerked around emotionally, that takes a lot of presence and stamina and understanding of the stress response, which is why when I first start working with someone, I just started a new client on Monday and they have they booked their next call to tomorrow because they're like, they want more fast. And it was like I told him that one of my clients who had worked for Kellogg Company said that, oh, what this is the eye opener. Like this, you're opening people's eyes out to what's really happening. And I call it under the hood, what's really happening with us. And that's what I do in that first session. And he actually said that. He goes, this is so eye-opening. Right. So I hope this is eye-opening for you. I'm happy that you're here. If you want to go deeper, please connect with me. You can DM me right here, wherever you're seeing this, or go straight to my website, which is lingalls.com. Pressure-free.com will take you there too. And you'll see a button at the top. And please just book a call. Like, you don't have to worry about me pressuring to do anything because this is pressure free. But if we have a conversation, I promise to give you some tips in that conversation to I'll really listen to you and I promise to be pressure free on the call and really hear you and see you so that we can see how we can help you. And gosh, it's so important to understand the role of equanimity in your life. Like when you can be in that space where you've elevated and your roller coaster is not so deep. That is a game changer when you think about it for not just you. I think I'll bring that forward for this last minute here. Sometimes people will hire me to work with their spouse or their children. Um, and sometimes they think they don't need pressure free, or they're more willing to invest for the people they care about and love, and kind of I'll just get it through osmosis or something. Um, and I'm here to say that like when you work on you, you'll create a ripple effect for everyone as well. Sometimes I work with entire families, which is so cool because then they have a common language around the stress response. But it's okay. It's like that, the overused adage, put your mask on first when you're on the airplane and then you assist someone. Um, you matter, like you matter. So sometimes I see people do that. they'll invest for someone else, but they won't do it for themselves. And that can be a hard thing. I've been there for sure. I can't imagine, like, looking back how much money I spent on hockey and hockey camps, music lessons and everything for my children. And then I'd be wearing clothes that were 30 years old. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, what are your values? But valuing yourself, that's something we really dig into in Pressure Free. Like, we got to turn this key to allow all of this to work for you too. So that's what I have for you today, this idea of equanimity, of flow, being in the flow. I hope it's helpful, and I wish you a great pressure-free day.